Well, this unusual weather pattern brought rain to Long Island and much of central and southern New England today, but it's finally winding down. But we have that stalled frontal boundary to the west and along and just west of it in parts of central Pennsylvania and points southward into Virginia. Lots of showers and thunderstorms, lots of rain, some flash flooding, and some severe weather. But take take heart because we are headed for a nice, relatively speaking, early summer week, first weekend of summer, first full weekend of summer, and we will be celebrating that right here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. So, happy anniversary. 44 years ago today, one small step for man, one slightly larger step for weatherkind.
Yes.
Actually, a big step. I'm teasing. You know that.
I don't know. I could have gotten into. My grandfather used to say that I would do a lot better if I had become a civil servant and got into meat cutting. Honest to God, truth. That was the. He said you'll belong to the union. You'll never have any problems for the rest of your life. And in a way, he may have been right.
Well,
But
I'll tell you something because I could speak to this. Okay, I could personally speak to this. So, first of all, that that came from a generation where they went through the Depression and World War II, where they went. A lot of people obviously went years without finding work. So if you got a civil service job, you were, it was wonderful. You were set for life. You got a pension at the end, and and you were settled. So I kind of understand where that mindset comes from. Um, but I have to tell you, since from when when I was let go from Pix and couldn't find a job for 2 years because I was let go right before the great financial crisis, I had to take a civil service job with the federal government for 6 years. And you and I would have you and I would never have lasted much more beyond that. I grew to hate it. And not because of the job, Joe. It's because of our mindsets. You and I and people like us um, that work in TV or have worked in television, uh, part of what drives us is the fact that every day is a little different and we're constantly creating things. We are people that need to create things and figure out for the corporate people, it's basically taking 5 pounds of bologna and stuffing it into a 1 pound bag. But mentally, we thrive on that creativity. And when you're in a civil service job, especially when you're in a civil service job where I was, where you were not allowed to think outside the box. Okay, it was a very narrow way of doing things, and you always did them that way. Even if you found a more efficient way or a better way to do it, no, it had to be done the way the rules said it had to be done. And I grew to hate it, and I think you would have grown to hate it.
oh, there's no question. If you've ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks, there's a scene where the kid who is constantly slipping through his grip, the great impersonator, if you will, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. There's a scene in that movie where Tom Hanks allows him to leave solitary confinement and work for the FBI. And here he is on his first day working for the FBI, and he's sitting behind a desk, Leonardo DiCaprio is, and one secretary after another is dropping on his desk files and files and files of cases that he has to wade through and go through. And you see this look on his face like DiCaprio looks like he almost wishes he was back in solitary confinement. And Where I used to work, I worked for a private weather forecasting company that at one time was heavily into broadcasting, and then they gradually moved away from that and moved into doing reports, slip and fall cases for insurance companies and also for legal cases. And I was the fastest of all of the meteorologists there, in wading through all of the raw material and all of the CCD information or whatever, LCD, I should say, not CCD, local climatological data. And I was able to create narrative summaries, again, faster than most of the other guys. So I usually was the one who got stacks and stacks of these reports that I had to sit there for 8 hours and do. And I learned to hate it. So yeah, you're just exactly true. I probably would have learned to, or maybe if I had gotten started, as working in civil service from the very beginning and not into weather, I just would have just arbitrarily just come in every day and just did it automatically or by rote. But that was the path. But you're absolutely right. Today, 44 years ago, at that private weather concern, that private forecasting company, I started there and I started doing broadcasting. I did my very first broadcast on WVOX, a 500-watt station in New Rochelle, and that began.
Where was Ted Baxter's radio station?
In Fresno, California.
Fresno, California.
And he called that a little 5,000-watt radio station in Fresno. This is 500 watts. 500 watts.
Barely a light, just a little bit better than a light bulb.
Exactly. Exactly. It was called a community radio station. But I listened to myself on that station on the very first day and got the thrill of my life because I was finally on the radio, be it 500 or 5,000. And I gradually worked my way up. And when I finally ended my radio career and moved on to television, I was doing the biggest radio station in the United States. I was the morning meteorologist on 1010 Winds, for God's sake. I worked from exceedingly small market stations all the way up to the top. And it took only 17 years to do that. Then another 21 years on television at News 12 in Westchester, and 3 years with your partnership. And as you predicted when we first started together at FiOS One, you said we're going to have a blast, and we did. For 3 years that we were together, we had a great time. Then they shut down FiOS, and pretty well that shut down my my television career. Except this is not a shutting down because this is television. What we're on right now is television.
Oh my God! Who is this person? What did you do with the real Joe Rayo? Where is he? Have I not been saying that to you for the longest time? This is
and contrary to what I said last night, I did contact the young lady from Fox.
Right. Well, I kind of figured you would.
and she assured me, and she's right. I told her, I said, I don't want to do anything if it means putting some kind of a thing on my computer other than Zoom. Oh no. And it's amazing. All I had to do was just, they sent me an email. I clicked on this one link and boom, there I was on Fox Weather. So
all that consternation, and it turned out okay.
So, and it turned out okay. And
perfect.
They thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was nice. My wife was babysitting this afternoon, and she was able to see me on a big screen TV. And she says it's so nice to see you on a big screen. But anyone who has a big screen TV and can tune us in,
yes.
Like my sister, for example, can watch us you can watch us if you have your TV connected to the internet. You could have a 60-inch TV, and you could watch us larger than life.
Yeah,
correct?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's very simple. You get a notification. I get notifications that we're on YouTube. Do you want to switch it to your television set? And well, obviously I can't because I'm on the air. But actually, you know what? I should try that one day. Put the show on in the background on my big screen while we're on. Maybe I'll try that one day next week. I'll I'll get brave and see what happens. Uh, yeah, it's we are we're doing what we want to do, and I've said this so many times. When we've had these conversations, uh, it's our show. There's nobody telling us what we can't or can't do, and it's it's wonderful. I'm having the time of my life.
Well, it's been fun, and so yeah, 44 years ago it all started,
Yep.
and it continues, I
Good,
guess.
and it continues because we got renewed for another season, which is good. Okay. I renewed
We have
us.
fun.
I renewed us for another season. Our ratings are up overall. So that's we'll go at it for another year until contract time.
Yes, yes,
Well, welcome
indeed.
everybody tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Joe and I have known each other for roughly 44 years also, and our paths crossed, separated, and then really crossed and joined toward the end. And now we've been pretty much attached at the hip ever since, not just TV wise, but apparently with stuff that happens to us uh, with the dental work and a
With
few
our
other
teeth.
things along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
so anyway, welcome everybody tonight. I hope everybody had a great day, and let's start off with Robert Russo hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Robert. Most appreciated as always. And Jay-Z Videography hitting a super chat tonight. How's it going, Joe and Joe? Hope all is well. I'm looking forward to the weekend as far as the weather goes. This week has been a gloomy week, especially for flying. Lots of low clouds over Long Island. Yeah, and a couple of inches of rain over the eastern half of Long Island today, Joe. It all lined up from. Uh, this is why I. It's so frustrating because this is really sort of a springtime, even though it's now summer technically, but it's a late spring, early summer type setup, and these warm fronts are tricky. We mentioned the other day that somebody might get clobbered. I thought there might be some flash flood risk, and it turns out the way things have set up, it's more to the west. But the four models were all over the place. Nobody, I don't remember think any of them yesterday had the rain set up in the way that it wound up setting up today from interior, central, and southern New England down to Long Island, and now most of it's almost all over with. There's just a little patch left over Long Island at the moment. But a lot of big weather going on tonight in central PA, west of I-81, and down into Virginia. You're gonna take us on a radar tour in a moment. And why don't we get started? Uh, I'll bring up the satellite Lupe. You know what? I really should. I keep forgetting because I always wind up um, having to refresh this map with the satellite loop, so I keep forgetting that I really like that, the lightning thing. So the one with the lightning strikes. Uh,
Right.
okay, well now it just went to black, so let me see what did I do wrong here? Uh, there we go. Now I got it correct. Excellent. Now let me bring it up to screen here, and a lot of clouds. Continue. And of course, we've got this northerly flow has just been really unusual. I mean, this is something that you dream about in the wintertime. And I was thinking about the fact that the way the precip's set up over the years, we've seen a number of times where we get these sort of northern troughs that swing around, and you get these Long Island's always getting into this in the wintertime, where you get these bands that set up in New England and then come straight southward. Sort of reminded me of that today, although this one produced a substantial amount of rain in some places.
And we also on the chat board while you were going into your dissertation, somebody wrote about Agnes, this being the 50th anniversary of the hurricane that kind of came. I believe it made landfall in Long Island, Long Beach, with 65-mile-per-hour winds. came inland and just sat over portions of northern Pennsylvania for days and days and days, and caused legendary flooding across. You talk about the Johnstown flood, and Agnes pretty much came close to doing just that in parts of Pennsylvania 50 years ago. So uh, that was happening then, and now here we are 50 years later with a stalled warm front over eastern Pennsylvania. And that warm front, by the way, Joe, while we were stuck in the 60s here in the immediate tri-state area, as you just pointed out, behind that warm front, in a wedge, if you will, across much of central and west central Pennsylvania, temps soared into the 80s, even the 90s,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's also where the big boomers are rumbling as of this hour, and we'll see that on radar in just a moment.
yeah. I just changed the loop over to the northeast so that we could see some of these bigger cells. There's a nice looking line. I'm talking meteorologically speaking. The line is not nice. It's thunderstorms, and they can be dangerous and destructive. So let's change the word from nice to robust. There's a robust looking line of storms in western PA, and then you've got these patches in central PA. And I'm waiting for the loop to finish loading here because it's taking forever. But these are all the bright spots you see here in the colors. Those are all lightning flashes, which are supposed to move with the loop, but it's GOES has a message, by the way, on their website saying that they've had some kind of outage and there were going to be intermittent delays going on today. So I guess that's what this is right now. It's an intermittent delay. Are you all set to take us on a radar tour?
Yes, as long as you allow me to do so. The
Uh,
last time I checked,
it is my pleasure. Just a moment as I switch you back over here, and you may now go ahead and do what you got to do. Of course, now the loop is moving once I made the switch, but we'll come back to that in a minute.
ta-da! All right, so here you can see over again central Pennsylvania and the areas of yellow and orange and red indicating strong to severe weather. This is, of course, where the Storm Prediction Center had the greatest risk or threat for severe weather. And this activity now seems to be popping, the diurnal activity coming in the heat of the late day. And you can see a lot of this activity flaring up to the south of Williamsport. Well, Williamsport is right here. So the south and west of Williamsport. And you could see where the warm front actually is. The warm front extends from about Avoca, Pennsylvania, to just to the east of Hazleton, down to just east of Reading, and anywhere to the left of that broken line of showers here. That's where the heat, the humidity, and the thunderstorms, the big thunderstorms, are occurring. And to the right or to the west, and in fact, I can go to the right or to the west, show you what it's like, let's say, out of the Mount Holly radar. And you can see here, again, there's that line. There's the warm front. And everywhere to the right of there, across much of Delaware, New Jersey, the New York area, look offshore, all of this precipitation. This is just regular rain and shower activity. Again, the convection, the big thunderstorms are to the west or to the left in the hot and humid air. And just like where we are right now, Joe, the activity flowing from north to south, same thing holds with the thunderstorms. They too are flowing from north to south through Pennsylvania, down across Maryland, and all the way down into northern sections of Virginia. And in fact, if we check the local radar here out of Upton, you see that there's one band of precipitation. That pretty well is it. The tail or trailing end, very thin line remaining over Connecticut, but the main batch now again passing to the south, offshore, and for the rest of the tri-state area, New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, western sections of Long Island, and again now also eastern section of Long Island. There's just this band which is right near the Nassau-Suffolk line. That's where the precipitation is, but most everywhere else it's dry. And I think we're pretty well done, at least for a while, with any kind of precip. We may get another round to deal with tomorrow, and then hopefully we'll dry out and have some nice weather arrive in time for Friday and the weekend.
Yeah, and some other activity that's going on too, Joe. If you look on the, I mean, I could do it too if you want. I got it all set up here. I'll just go back. I'll just punch up the wider radar view. Just take a look, and here we go. So back in you go from right near the PA Maryland line, about halfway across the state, and then extending through West Virginia, and then arcing back into southeast Ohio. There looks like there's about a dozen severe thunderstorm warnings working there. There's also a patch of heavy downpours and a couple of thunderstorms in south central Virginia, southeastern Virginia, into northeastern North Carolina. And yeah, there's that last arm. It took all day long for this to get out of the way. If you were pretty much from Nassau, even I mean, eventually did get into Nassau County to an extent, but just west of there and going west, there was very little, if any, rain at all. So just a really weird setup here with that northerly flow and then the upper high that's out to the west. Meanwhile, just because we've been following this, in the southwest, the radars actually are rather busy in New Mexico and Arizona around Flagstaff. In Southern California, seeing some showers and thunderstorms going on today, moving northward to the Nevada side. So getting some much needed rainfall, which is a good thing. Not nearly enough, uh, but it's a start and alleviating the drought for them. Slight risk of severe weather was what was indicated by the Storm Prediction Center. They lined it up pretty well in terms of where the weather fronts are. 3 severe thunderstorm watches are working as of 7:53 Eastern Time. The one in central Pennsylvania is beginning to get whittled away as those storms move southward, but we still have the one in Virginia and also one that goes back into Ohio and West Virginia. So those will play themselves out. For the next period here, which is for Thursday into Friday, nothing in the Northeast. And in most of the Midwest and Ohio Valley, just some general thunderstorms across the southeast and south. They've been few and far between anyway. Slight risk in parts of Kansas into southern Nebraska. A few areas of marginal risk also showing up in Minnesota and the Dakotas, over in Montana, parts of Utah, and eastern Nevada. And as we head over to day 3, we've just got this marginal risk in the northern plains. Extending down to northwest Missouri and extreme northeastern Kansas, and this is for Friday into Saturday. The east is going to be quiet for the most part this weekend, and not looking for anything until we get to Monday, which is when we'll have a cold front and a chance for showers and storms. And rainfall over the next 7 days. Now, some of this includes what's going on now. Obviously, it doesn't count what's already fallen. This starts at 8 o'clock tonight. But 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half, pretty much up and down the eastern seaboard, away from the immediate coast, where it's mostly 1/4 of an inch or less. Down in Florida, some solid rains. Continuing to see solid rains now in the southwest. So this early monsoon continues to bring that rainfall into the southwestern part. Is getting that tropical moisture coming out from the Pacific. The northwest is dry, and into Minnesota, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half, but then it sort of dries out as you head west into Montana and Wyoming, mostly 1/4 of an inch or less. So I'm going to come back full screen for a moment here, and go ahead. You go. I talk too much.
Well, I just pointing out something that Mike 76 points out on the chat board, and that is that of the major models, the short-term models, and actually the mid-term models too, the NAM is the only one that continues to hold a closed low rather close to the northeast coastline into the weekend, as opposed to the other models, the GFS and also the European, that kind of opened that up and kind of kick it away to the north and east. But the NAM still has a closed low, but that seems to be the outlier, I think, as compared to all the other, at least compared to the global models.
Yeah, the NAM has been so squirrely lately. Um, Lately, it's been squirrely for a while. I mean, for several months now. I'm just looking at this. I'm pulling it up I'm going to run it through myself and then I'll bring it up on the screen. It's usually good that I look at the maps first before I talk about them on the air. Uh, yeah, it does. It's odd. Let's see. So, okay, I see what it's doing. Well, yeah, that would be highly inconvenient to an extent. Um, well, what's left on the weekend, yeah, it's weird. Hold on. All right, now I'll put it up on the screen. Let's take a look at this, and we'll take a look at the others. And we should remember, by the way, that given the time of year, uh, it's not unusual for cutoffs to get left behind and into no man's land. We saw that back that stretch in May. But if you watch the NAM here now, this is this afternoon, uh, uh, right there, that cutoff low sitting south between Cape Cod and Bermuda. And as we run through Thursday, it's still there offshore. Now, this is probably going to keep us in clouds all day tomorrow for the most part. So even if we don't see much rain. Although there probably will be some rain later tonight into tomorrow morning, if you want to believe it, in maybe western New Jersey, eastern PA, until that gets whittled away. Yeah, Joe. What it's doing is part of it pulls up into Canada, but it leaves another piece behind and then cuts it off a second time Friday night, and then just sort of lingers it there off the coast. The ridge is trying to build from Arkansas and Texas northeastward over the top. So let's see what it does on the surface. Yeah, the only thing I would say about this is the fact that I just wonder how much moisture is going to be left because we're dealing with what we're dealing with now because we had that northerly flow and the warm front set up as the boundary zone, and those clouds formed along the boundary zone and the little short waves kind of moved down and around to produce these showers and thunderstorms. But you're going to lose the boundary. The boundary's going to be gone. So yeah, there's going to be a little low that might be out there, but there might not be much left to it. I mean, in terms of precip and clouds, even there might not be a whole lot with that. So maybe it means that uh, there's a little bit of lingering clouds around early on Friday. I don't know. It's possible. And then after that, yeah, I'm still going to go with the idea that the weekend should be okay. I'm not going to be too concerned about this because there's really not much left to it.
Yeah. Well, I honestly believe that the global models have a better handle on this, and that I think we're probably going to go right into a nice weather pattern. Although nice in the sense that, I mean, if you like summertime, if you like summer weather, you're going to like this weekend because one thing that we've seen over the last few days that we've been lacking in is humidity, heat
Yeah.
and humidity, and we're going to be dealing with that beginning, I think, well, probably late Saturday. Sunday will be every bit of a summer sultry day, if you will, and then we'll move into our next potential short stretch of unsettled weather at the start of next week on Monday.
Right, and I got the GFS upper air up on the screen as well at the moment. That's funny. When I run it backwards, it looks like it's when I run it backwards, it looks like it's moving like it's supposed to move, which is from west to east. But here's that cutoff again between Cape Cod and Bermuda tonight and tomorrow. Just takes the whole thing, opens it up. It leaves a little piece, there's a little lagging trough behind, but it's very weak and well offshore. So you're right. I kind of think the global models have probably the best handle of this. Let's look at the European's been pretty good all week, so I'll see what that did. And yeah, the European opens it up completely and then just takes it out. So I'm not really concerned about the NAM. The NAM's in a position right now where it really needs to prove itself, and it's done so many strange things from the winter to the spring that I've been tending to discount it for the most part. Now Monday, you're right about the weekend, and I think the humidity is going to be reasonable, as you said, until maybe late Saturday. And Sunday will be, a really warm, humid, sultry day. Uh, this is where, in this pattern that we've been talking about here in the East, where you're going to get these odd day or two stretches where it gets very warm. The average high now is approaching the middle 80s, so to get there is a no-brainer. And here's Monday's trough. It's not a half bad looking shortwave that comes into the east. So I still think that maybe that might generate a little bit of severe weather risk with that front on Monday. And then another one, but this one drops up into New England on Thursday. So it comes right down right behind it. And I'm just looking here. You got the westerlies down to North Carolina for the next 10 days. And I don't see anything, like I said yesterday, in terms of the overall broad pattern, Joe, I just don't see anything changing very much in the next couple of weeks. That was sort of my verdict yesterday, and I'm switching over to the GFS, which is out to, should be done. That's the European on the wide view. Let me just get the GFS up here. And, I mean, the GFS has got the same idea. Very busy up in Canada. Troughs continue to drop into the eastern United States. The ridge is somewhere in the middle. So it's more and another cutoff toward the end of the period near the East Coast. So the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Looking here at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from our friends over at the NOAA Climate Prediction Center.
Well, hold on. Let me switch so you could show our studio audience.
Yes.
There you go.
There you are.
All yours.
And we're in that zone here in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic of near normal, and they even have a very small slice of eastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina, the Virginia Capes and the Outer Banks of North Carolina in below normal temperature probabilities. As you can see, all the heat continues to be contained over the central and southern part of the United States, the hottest areas being along the Gulf Coast, down here across Louisiana and eastern Texas, and also into southern sections of Mississippi and Alabama. And also there's a finger of above normal temperatures predicted for Southern California into portions of Nevada and Utah right there. And I'm sure in this region, they typically in this type of a situation see triple digit temperatures, and they're going to be pretty close to triple digit temps down here as well. Now, if you remember yesterday, the Climate Prediction Center had above normal precipitation across the Atlantic seaboard. Well, looky what we have here now. From June 28th through July 2nd, the projection now is for normal. And in fact, if you go into portions of western and central New York and Pennsylvania and through the Ohio Valley, below normal. So look at this. We may have near normal temperatures and near to below normal precipitation. Remember, right here, right along the immediate coastline yesterday, they had above normal for this same time frame. Now they've taken that away and just saying near normal temperatures and precipitation. And in fact, if you want to go even further to the 8 to 14 day outlook, and this takes us beyond Independence Day, this takes us to July the 6th, near normal. It's starting to warm up over central and western New York and Pennsylvania. Some of the heat beginning to sift slowly but surely eastward, but we're still in the near normal category here in the tri-state area. You can see here on this close-up view here. And as far as precipitation, remember yesterday, they actually had above normal, again, up and down the eastern seaboard, and even one standard deviation above normal precipitation right along the immediate coast. All that is gone now, and it just has near normal. So again, for us, near normal temperatures, near normal precipitation, it may be actually a not too bad holiday weekend if you want to take a good long range look at this. It doesn't appear to be anything that's going to show up as abnormally cool or more abnormally hot. And as far as precipitation, the above normal, or the better chance for seeing wet weather for the holiday, appears to be over here in parts of Iowa and southern Minnesota, northeastern sections of Nebraska, and also above normal in places where they, again, really needed it. And it's finally arriving, and that would be for portions of Arizona and western sections of New Mexico, below normal precipitation here in the Tennessee Valley. So it doesn't look at all like a for most areas like a very bad scenario coming up, except again right here in these areas of above normal for precipitation. But again, as I said, they really do need it down here, so maybe they actually are very happy, even though it coincides with a holiday here in Arizona and New Mexico, that they're going to be seeing above normal or projected to see above normal precipitation.
Yeah, northwest, a dominant northwest flow means you get fronts coming through every few days. You get some showers and thunderstorms with that. Everything moves, nothing stalls. You're not in a situation like this. Now, granted, it's set up to the west in Pennsylvania down into Virginia, where you're getting this north-south movement, and then earlier today over Long Island with the rain. So basically rains all day. But yeah, with the northwest flow, it's hard to at best you'd get near normal precip at best, and that's it. And even then, it may be localized. If you get into a thunderstorm that winds up doing something, you get more rain than somebody else. Now here's the GFS's look for tonight. The storms are going to wind down, but there's still going to be some rain that gets generated by tomorrow morning. A very narrow strip there in eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey, much like what happened today, but further to the west. A low develops off North Carolina that runs out to the northeast. So eventually we'll start to get into some improvement, probably in terms of sky conditions. I think for Friday, uh, the NAM is all by itself with what it's doing. So as I said, we're just going to discount that. Saturday and Sunday, there's some showers and storms. It's actually a little bit of blue up there in northwest Canada, believe it or not, Joe. But there's some showers and storms Friday night. If you remember back earlier, we did the Storm Prediction Center severe weather risk, and the three areas that were showing up in Minnesota, in Montana. I'm sorry, yeah, Montana, and also on parts of Nebraska and Iowa. Well, there you can see how the models are picking up on three distinct systems there. But here in the east, no issues other than the fact that it's going to be very warm and humid, especially for Sunday. And then it sets up with that upper trough with showers and thunderstorms. Now the GFS is kind of catching up to the idea that the front is not going to come through Sunday night, Monday morning, but rather sometime later Monday afternoon and evening, much like the European has. Then that goes by. There's not a whole lot of weather going on uh, next week through much of the country. It's actually fairly quiet, other than areas like the Rockies getting some showers and storms and parts of the Southwest with the monsoon. But we're not dealing with stalled fronts or upper lows or anything like that. This is the model's version on day 10. This is on Saturday the 3rd. There's some kind of front with some showers and thunderstorms in the northeast and crossing Pennsylvania and into the Ohio Valley. It does eventually get through. It kind of gets hung up slightly for Sunday, and then it moves out, and then it's dry and cooler for the 4th of July. So there's nothing in the tropics really to worry about. The upper air pattern that we have right now, by the way, is not one that's really conducive for tropical storm development in the Atlantic, and it might stay that way for a while. That's not unusual. Doesn't it kind of points to the idea that like in most years you're going to get that flip probably later on in July, or maybe you have to wait till August. But right now, the tropics are quiet, and I envision them on the Atlantic side staying that way, at least for the next 10 days to 2 weeks. Now that I've said that, there'll be three tropical storms somewhere at the end of the forecast period.
And Steve Lapointe, thank you very much for hitting super chat. He said hit thumbs up under the video. Thanks. And we've already had we have 106 people as of right now watching the show, Joe, and we have about 45 thumbs up. So that's nice. No dislikes. So I mean, considering how quiet the weather is, not really all that much to talk about. I'll accept those numbers right now, and yeah, I could see. In fact, in spite of the fact that we're in a La Nina pattern, and supposedly that gives rise to a greater number of tropical systems, I agree with you that this is not the type of pattern or setup, at least in the immediate future, that would hold for any kind of tropical activity, at least for the next week or two. So
Yeah,
it,
and
let's hope it stays this way for a while.
right, and one of the things that usually comes up in conversations like this, and I guess it's not. We tend to sort of sit in our own little weather circles, so we think that okay, the pattern we have is, it's going to be like this forever, and it's not. I wouldn't draw any conclusions beyond several weeks as far as what's going to happen down the road. And for one thing, it's above my pay grade as far as the long range is concerned. And you've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks how, occasionally the models will throw you a mulligan and show you that the pattern is changing, and it's for a run or two, and then it goes back to this primary pattern. And that's my experience has been that models start doing that when you're about maybe about a third to the halfway through it. So that would suggest to me that maybe we'll see something different toward mid to late July. Uh, we were talking about the fact that the pattern was going to change a bit for the second half of June, and it never really happened. So obviously we're holding on, and it's going to go on for a bit. But beyond that couple of weeks period, to say that it's going to mean this for the fall and this for the winter. I know a number of people, Joe, are talking about the fact that this is going to be the third. If the La Nina holds, this will be the third La Nina winter. And if you go back and look at years where it's the third year of the La Nina, that those years have been robust for snowfall in the Northeast. I'm not predicting that. I'm telling you what I've seen other people write about. Okay, get me there. Um, we're less than 6 months away from the start of December. I'm not going to start worrying about or thinking about what the winter's going to be like. Although I would suspect that, Joe, any day now we should be getting questions about what the winter's going to be like, because after all, it's almost July, right? Usually they start
Well,
usually they start popping up popping up during the summer months.
I see here that on the chat board, Johnny Quest mentions that there are currently 50 volcanoes that are erupting on the Earth as of a couple of days ago. You may have 50 volcanoes, but what type of volcanoes are they? Are they, small volcanic eruptions, small or moderate? All you need is one big eruption from, let's say, a Pinatubo or a Krakatoa, that kind of thing, and that could change the climate for more than a couple of years. But we have not seen. Now, we had that one volcanic eruption, the Tonga volcano in
Yes.
the southern Pacific last winter, but a lot of climatologists who studied that said it was very brief, very intense, very localized, and would not have much of any effect on the. I mean, they all admitted it was a very potent eruption, but not the type that would have led to, a bending of the upper level winds. Nothing like what we had most recently with Pinatubo back in the 1990s. Maybe it's maybe it's time that we're going to see a major eruption. In fact, right here in this hemisphere, there is a volcano that is capable of doing just that in the Caribbean, Montserrat, which they actually were concerned about in the 1990s in blowing its top and giving rise to a major aerosol cloud. That never happened, but still, Montserrat is there. It's still bubbling and burbling, and who knows? One of these fine days, that or any volcanic eruption may eventually throw a monkey wrench into the overall climate conditions. But right now, as it was just mentioned, there are a lot of volcanic eruptions, but it doesn't seem like many of them are doing much of anything aside from just throwing a few, dust clouds or aerosol clouds up into the stratosphere of minor importance.
Yeah. We got to get through hurricane season first. By the way,
Yeah,
I want to bring it back. I got the satellite loop moving here in the Northeast. Just kind of interesting since we have this unusual setup here in the Northeast. So naturally, the clearing skies, which normally would be coming in from the west, are actually coming in from the east. and it's cleared out in southeastern New England, and it's actually cleared out over eastern and now over central Long Island. It looks like it's got at least partially clear, at least from what I could see. It might not be getting all the low clouds, but certainly the higher cloud tops are gone, and most of the higher cloud tops now are sinking southward off the New Jersey coast. And you see the busy thunderstorms now moving southward into southwest Pennsylvania, now moving out of southwest PA and heading into Virginia and West Virginia. And while I have this, I might as well get the tropical. I'll get the full tropics because I saw somebody asking about the Saharan dust. Yes, and that dust was a gift from. So, so we'll take a look at the. Trying to see which one of these would be good to look for best shots for dust. Nighttime microphysics to distinguish clouds from fog. Now, they got so many things here. I have a tropical map and they have a snow and ice option. Now, somehow I don't think I'm going to need that. I'd like a dust option perhaps. You know what? I'll have to do this on my own time, and I'll get the lightning flash one. I'll have to do this on my own time, so where I could take a look and see what would be. Oh, there it is. It's right in front of me. Dust RGB. Oh, good Lord. Never mind. I find it. So this will help us see the tropospheric dust. So we'll let it load. Now I imagine.
I'm looking at that right now, Joe. How do you?
Yeah,
I
now
guess the
what
areas of salmon
the
or
salmon?
pink?
I would think the salmon color's got to be the dust.
Yeah.
Well, let me get enough frames in here. I only got 24 frames. Let's go to. I'll put 48 frames. We can at least watch the progression. And yeah, I mean, if that's it, there's quite a bit of it from the African coast. And again, nothing unusual here because we have to wait for the intertropical convergence zone, which right now is pretty far south. During the month of July, it starts to migrate northward, so the rainy season in Africa spreads northward toward the southern part, toward the southern border of the Sahara Desert. Which, by the way, you may not know this, but millions of years ago, that was a grassland savanna, and there was some sort of catastrophic event that altered the climate in northern Africa, and there are remnants. I don't know how far back it was. It may not have been that far back because there were fossilized remnants of what used to be what looked like small cities. So use the million years line that I said as hyperbole. It's probably tens of thousands of years ago, and there was some sort of cataclysmic event of some kind that either an earthquake or maybe who knows, but whatever it was, it altered the climate. But you could see the salmon areas. There's quite a bit of it. Now, if it's there in August and September, then it's going to be a problem for tropical cyclone development in the tropical Atlantic. But for now, none of this is unusual.
Right. Now, if you have that in August and September, that would be like the equivalent of strangulation on the hurricane development, because the hurricanes just simply will not develop. And I can remember some summers where we actually did have that, where we had the dust, deep into the hurricane season, and nothing was happening because the dust was just choking off the hurricane or tropical system's ability to develop.
Yeah, I can recall a couple of systems where it was an issue, and if not even in some better in some more well-developed systems, it just impacts the tropical waves themselves. They could have what look like ideal conditions for the development, and then the dust gets in the way, and it just slows everything down. Yeah, it does. It is a problem with regards to cyclone development. So, as I said, we get into the month of August. If the hurricane seed is going to be robust, it's going to have to do it on the fact that there's going to be a very active intertropical convergence zone and strong tropical waves, which means that the on the African side, the rainy season will play out and move northward, and there won't be these dust issues, these areas of dust that move offshore. So that we'll know in the fullness of time.
And like to wish Chuck Cardillo, excuse me, Jason Schaefer, who mentions on the chat board that his mother is still dealing with difficulties, intestinal difficulties, that he and his father hanging in there, and we wish mom well
Yes.
in the upcoming days to come.
Yes, absolutely, Jason. All the best and hope for speedy recovery for your mom. Uh, I had today. I finally got my infusion today, so I'm a happy camper. And I'm waiting for something to happen. I shouldn't say this, Joe, but I'm waiting for something to happen since I've been, kind of under the gun for about almost going on 8 months, going on 9 months now, and my ankle feels really good. There's always been the last couple of weeks just a little bit of discomfort, but now I'm not even feeling that anymore. I can actually, with the boot, I can get around pretty well. My stomach issues are improving also, which is really good. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I'm really kind of tired of having to deal with what I've been having to deal with. I want this, I want to be well for at least a week.
Well, you sound very good. It's good that you have gotten used to the situation in regard to your ankle, you're moving around better,
Yeah.
and it's slowly but surely. I'm sure that by the end of this year or toward the end of this year, you'll be back to your normal Joe Chiaffi self once again.
Well, I haven't lost my black humor attitude of mine that I have.
Yes,
That didn't go away. I'm
that's true.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is going on. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that, you know, yanked my chain. So I saw your post about your anniversary. I don't know, you might have seen what I did. I shared it on my page, on my Facebook page. Um,
The funny thing about that is, my mother later on said, Joe, you stepped in it. I was helping a friend of mine. He became actually a PhD astronomer, and actually had an instrument that he had to watch over on the Hubble Space Telescope. We grew up in the Bronx, and he was now getting ready to move from his home on Balk Avenue in the Bronx to Gainesville, Florida, where he was going to be taking his uh, courses for his master's and eventually his PhD. So I was there to help him clear the debris. This guy, had a very small room, but he must have like tons and tons of stuff. And out of the debris, he pulls out a ripped up loose leaf piece of paper with a phone number on it, and he looked at it, and he could just as well have tossed it in the circular file. Instead, he looked at it and he gave it to me, and he said, "You ought to contact this guy." He says he has the same interest you have in astronomy and also in weather. And I looked at it, and it was a name which I was not familiar with. And he said, "Yeah, you ought to call this guy up." And the guy's name was Todd Gross.
oh,
And that night, I called Todd Gross up. I woke him out of a sound sleep. He just worked a 20-hour day because somebody had quit on him. He had just started his own weather company in Flushing, New York, and the day before, somebody had just arbitrarily just said, "I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore." And so now Todd was working that guy's shift as well as his own. And I just literally, I said, "Hi, Glenn Schneider told me to call you." And we chatted for a while. And I said, "Yeah, I'm Earth and Planetary Science, City College." And he made a comment. He said, "I got to go back to sleep. Thanks very much." And I said, well, make sure the LFM doesn't lead you astray. And he went crazy. He said, what do you know about the LFM? What do you know about that? And he invited me down to his office the next day, and he made me color up some maps, and he made me read a script as if I were on the radio. And within like a half an hour, he said, are you interested in, I have a job opening. And I literally like walked into that job. I walked into that position, and the rest is history. I mean,
Yep.
I was at that company for 17 years, and then I moved on from there to television. And I always say to myself, what would have happened if my friend Glenn had just taken Todd's phone number and tossed it away and didn't even bother to show it to me?
Well,
I mean, what would have happened? You know, it's
I
amazing.
have, for me, it's the theme is quite, it's a similar theme. I happened to pick up a phone that Alan Casper was on hold when I was working at the Weather Service as a pay when I was in their student intern program, and I happened to pick up the phone to see who was on hold, and it was him. And while I was on the phone with him, I mentioned that my internship was gonna because it was 6 months, 6 months on, 6 months off. You went to school for 6 months, and then you did the internship for 6 months. And I mentioned that my internship was up, and I was going to have to go back to school and then get a part-time job. And he said, "Well, my Nick Gregory, who was working there, was going back to school because it was the summer months, so he was going back to school. So Alan asked me if I wanted to go work over there at the office, a paid internship, and it was like there's the job I needed to find, and it was perfect because it was a train ride. But I often think what would have happened if I had not hit that. You remember the old phones, Joe, with the buttons and the red button, and you
Right.
put somebody on hold and the light
But
would
the
blink yellow.
blue
Right.
side light was blinking, and who is
Yeah.
this?
So yeah, you just never know. I mean, really, it was just I happened to pass by at the desk and I saw that the person was on hold, and I went to see if there was something I could do, and then it turned out to be Alan, and the rest is why we're sitting here. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
the old saying about door, one door closes and another one opens. That there's a lot of truth to that. You never know who, and that is I've also believed that people, and I've really come to feel about this strongly, not just from on a professional standpoint, but also from a relationship standpoint and an emotional standpoint. That you often wonder why friendships that um, you make friends along the way, and then as years go by, people go different paths, and um, I I kind of learned that people's lives cross for a reason because they're there to teach you something. And once you've learned everything there is to learn from that person, um, what? I'm sorry, I'm watching the chat board. I'm going to get to you, Tom, because I'm not letting you off the hook for this. Uh, Once you've learned everything you need to learn from that person, and there's nothing left. So obviously, Joe, you and I are still learning from each other. Okay, uh, your friendships go separate ways, and sometimes they part in a natural way where there's no animosity or anger. It's just that life goes on, and one person goes one way, another person goes another. But and sometimes I've learned to use that theme to realize that there were people that I were friends with that, looking back, I should have not been friends with. That they were destructive to me. I'm serious. So take that as a lesson, folks. If there's somebody that is destructive in your lives, get rid of them. Okay. Now, Tom, no, the Crohn's was not caused by me getting the vaccine. My ankle getting dislocated was caused by the vaccine. And your question about whether Nick Gregory has hair plugs, why don't you call him and ask him? I mean, why really call him up, and ask him. What? Who cares? Seriously, who cares? Oh my God, the things that people get wrapped up about. Good Lord.
Nick is one of the nicest people
Yeah.
that
Well, who cares if he's got
and
hair plugs? I
here's
don't know.
this is what I'm so cracked up. My camera fell down. That is, oh
It's such a
God.
ridiculous question. It just is. Now mine, on the other hand, is its natural color. I get it every 2 weeks because I have my colorist dyes my gray in just perfectly.
Tom Cartino also asked about was that the company that Pat Pagano was in? Actually, Pat and Todd were part of Metro Weather, and then they split. And Todd took a bunch of stations that he managed to bring into the company away with him and started his own company called CompuWeather. And it was in the first week that CompuWeather was starting in June of 1978. It was in that first week that he had somebody who was working for him, and then that person just decided that they were going to leave, and Todd was left holding the bag, so to speak. He needed and this is even before he had a chance to post anything saying, I need a meteorologist. And I just literally, as my mom said, Joe, you stepped in it. I just like literally walked right in at the right moment, and there you go. That was, and that's also, by the way, I have an affiliation with the Hayden Planetarium in New York. It's going to be 36 years in September, and basically the same thing. The same thing. I was leading a tour for Halley's Comet to Easter Island, of all places, and I didn't know the stars from Easter Island are so much different than the stars here in New York City. So I wrote a letter to Bill Gutch. Some of you may remember Bill. He was on Channel 7 for a while doing the weather with Storm Field in the 1980s. And Bill was also the chairman, the head of the Hayden Planetarium. So I write this letter to Bill Gutch saying, could I come down and could you use your Zeiss planetarium projector to show me what the sky is going to look like from Easter Island? So this way I don't sound like a moron, because I was supposedly going to be giving star talks on this tour. And here I am. I said, I need to know, or I need to see what the sky looks like from Easter Island. So Bill said, sure, come on down. And so we used the projector. I looked at the sky, and then after that, we went up to his office. Renato was with me, and we chatted, for a while. And what do you do? I work for a weather company in Flushing. Oh, I said, I used to work in Rochester on TV, and as of course I'm doing the weather on Channel 7 here in New York now. Oh, right. And I thought that was it. And 2 weeks later, you talk about making, contacts, Joe, and I guess I made this contact just the right time. 2 weeks later, Bill Gutch calls me at CompuWeather, and he says, I was just presented with a note of resignation from Dr. Thor. Dr. Thor was at SUNY Maritime, and he was teaching the introductory meteorology course at the Hayden Planetarium. And he said, Dr. Thor said he's quitting. He's not going to teach the course anymore. Now I have to find somebody to teach the course. Would you be interested? And I said, sure. And from that moment on, I started teaching courses at the planetarium in meteorology. Later on, I taught astronomy courses, gave sky shows, wrote and continue to write for the Natural History magazine, because they're part of the American Museum of Natural History. All of that got started merely because I wrote to Bill Gutch to ask him if I could come down to the planetarium and have him show me what the sky looked like from Easter Island. If I didn't write the letter, there would be no affiliation with the Hayden Planetarium after all of these years. But, you say you have to be in the right place at the right time. I was in the right place at the right time, and my affiliation there continues to this very day. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What else can I say?
Fate is an interesting concept. It just is. You really, uh, you never know when an opportunity is going to open up. And by the way, because I was doing that internship and so that I went when I went to so when I went to Channel 2 to work with Alan in 6 months, 6 months later, um, Mike Fain, who was retired from the Weather Service, was producing weather for the Today Show, and he wanted to stop because the hours were killing him. And I don't remember. I happened to be there one Sunday. I happened to be there one Sunday because I think I was still going into the weather service on Sundays, even though I was working for Allen, um, for WCBS. And Mike asked me. This was the funny thing about this story, Joe. So Mike asked me if I would be interested in working up for the Today Show. Now the hours were horrible. Okay, I'd have to be there at 3 a.m. And when you're, you know, barely 20 years old, who wants to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to get into a car and then drive, to Lower Manhattan and work, and then from there go to
Right.
school. So I now remember this was also 1980. So he had uh, so I he tells me it pays $100. So I thought it didn't take me long to say no. It paid $100. It was five for five, but I did not understand what he was getting at. It paid $100. So for 5 days a week, it's paying $20 a day. I'm not. So I said no. He says no, it's not $100 a week. It's $100 a day. Okay.
Wow.
Now that
That puts
was
it in a whole different category.
right. That's in 1980 dollars. I mean, that would be the
Right.
equivalent of getting, you know, maybe 400 a day now. So, or even
Right.
more. So when he told me that, um, I said yes, absolutely. Um, but it was too much for me. After a while, I had to go to 3 days a week because it was just get somebody for the other 2 days because I just couldn't do it anymore. And I did it for 2 years. I'd go to school and then work and then go to school. I'd be falling asleep in the classroom and it was just not good. So yeah, you just never know. You just never know. By the way, um,
It would be a double whammy. It would be a double whammy if you did all of that, those hours, then come to school, and the double whammy would have been if you had one of Spar's classes, because then the
oh, I
guy who put you to
did.
sleep.
No, I did.
Oh,
There were times when I did.
oh,
So yeah, um,
oh,
it was tough. And then I was taking some other, I was taking some political science courses because I'm a bit of a history buff, so I just kind of really liked taking history and political science courses. Those actually kept me awake because they were involved with lively conversations that occurred. So,
right.
which was nice, and people were sane in those days, not like they are now. By the way, just as a report about here in North Georgia, Joe, my have not reached 90-degree streak continues. Okay,
That's
Atlanta
amazing.
Atlanta today got to 98, okay? 98. Now this morning, okay, I was actually a little surprised this morning. I got down I was 50, I think 54 or 55 this morning for a low, which I was a little shocked by that. I didn't think it would be that low. I only got to 88 here, and I'm just looking at the Blairsville Airport. They got to 91. So that's very consistent with what I've been seeing here all the way through. Since I've been down here, this being my second summer. So I have yet to see a 90-degree day here in beautiful North Georgia. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to tell you, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and he's a sky watcher. So he goes to up to Blood Mountain, which is very close to me. And he says that Blood Mountain is um, perfect for stargazing and you know seeing planets and meteor showers and that kind of thing. There's absolutely no ambient light anywhere.
Wow.
It's just like what you described, where you go into Arizona where you were, where you put your hand in front of your face and you can't see your hand. That's how dark it is. That's how dark it is up
Yeah.
on Blood Mountain. Now, there's one road that goes up there. Okay, it's a two-way, single lane on each side, and it's a beautiful drive, but very hilly. You're putting it in low gear when you're going down the hill. So I mean going down the side of the mountain. It is, but it is beautiful up there. So I'm thinking uh, he gave me a spot to go to where I might be able to use my phone. So maybe one of these days I'll go there when we have some sort of stargazing to do and see what I come up with. All right, so
Don't go at
listen.
night. Don't try to come down that mountain at night, though.
Well,
At least I'm trying.
there's an occasional light on the road, okay, but that's it. But when you come off the road and you go on the trail, so you have to hike the trails to get up to where the mountain is. Um, there's no lights there. And I know up in for Brasstown Bald, which I haven't got, which is right near me. It's less than 10 minutes away. There are absolutely no lights whatsoever. So, and I know that road, so that I'd be a little I'd feel a little better about going up to Brasstown Bald because it's a 3 mile up the hill as opposed to a 20-mile drive going to the Blood Mountain. So anyway, um, well, I'm thinking we take off tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I meant to mention that before we started and I forgot, but yeah, we're going to take off tomorrow, folks. So we'll be back on. So there's not, after tomorrow morning, there's nothing after tonight and early tomorrow morning. There's not going to be anything going on weather-wise to speak of. So we're going to take a 3-day weekend, and then we'll be back on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. All right.
Very good. So, bye everybody until till Sunday.
Yes. Have a great the next 3 days, next 4 days. Have a good Thursday, a good Friday, and a good weekend, and we'll see you Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. Good night, everybody.
Wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
whoa.
why?
7:30 Eastern.
I'm sorry. 11.
7:30 Eastern.
Right. 11. Sunday at 11. Sorry. Sunday at 11. It's a
Now we
good.
can go.
Bye.
Bye bye.